everybody. I am Trey. Nice to see you. We have 9 other really interesting people here for you to get to know tonight. Maybe you know some, maybe there's some new faces. We're going to do all kinds of things. We'll, of course, just talk about photography and all sorts of stuff like that. But also we'll all be sharing our screens and showing some recent things we've been working on or thinking about, or this sort of stuff. And we have people from various disciplines in here, and I think you'll just see all kinds of stuff that's interesting. I know I will. And this is the kind of stuff that I've been doing almost every night at Google+. I just kind of collect interesting people and talk with them. So we've started recording these because they're so interesting to me. I thought they'd be interesting to you too. So let's go around with some kind of round-robin-ish welcomes and say hello to people, and people can talk about themselves and this sort of thing. Let's start with Gordon in New Zealand. Hello, Gordon.
Hi, Trey. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm fine.
Okay, I'll use that uncomfortable gap as a plugging opportunity. I run not one but 2 websites, cameralabs.com, where I review digital cameras, lenses, and accessories, and have a friendly forum if any of you fancy a chat. If there is, in fact, chat outside of Google Plus these days. And another website called DSLRtips.com, which the clue's in the title. It's where I do all my photography tutorials. So if you've just picked up your first so-called proper camera and you're after some tips, check them out. And I hope to be sharing a couple of those with you over the next few minutes or so.
Good, and it's all very good stuff. I like your style on there, and the style of your videos reminds me of kind of Top Gear, but for cameras. So I think...
Yeah, well, I think it's important to have fun with these things. It's very easy when you get into a technical hobby to become kind of snobby about certain techniques, and that you're somehow not doing it right unless you master this or do it this way. To me, that's not what it's about. It's about getting the photos you want and having fun while you're doing it. And who cares about the technicalities? If you're into it, cool. If you're not, don't worry about it. Just go out and have some fun.
Yeah, snobbery in photography, I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
No, we don't hang out with any snobs. Life is too short for photo snobs. You won't see many of those in these hangouts. Let's say hi to one of the non-snobs for sure, Jeremy Cowart. How are you, Jeremy?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Good. Tell everyone all about you. Those 2 people on Earth that don't know who you are.
I am about me. My website is jeremycowart.com. I am I guess you could call me a entertainment/celebrity photographer by trade. But I also run a movement of sorts called Help Portrait, and we are a global movement of photographers giving back to people in need. And so I'm excited to hopefully talk a little bit about that tonight, because our yearly event is just around the corner. So that's what I do, and I'm a dad, and I'm sitting here with my dog and my kids. So there you go.
All right, fantastic. It's very noble what you do. It's wonderful. Let's say hi now to RC. Are you here, RC?
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, everybody. How are you?
Good.
So my name's RC. I'm a content developer for a company called Kelby Media Group. Basically, I'm one of the Photoshop guys. I work for a man named Scott Kelby, and I spend most of my time teaching people digital photography, Photoshop. I've written a couple books. I have a series of podcasts that I do over at kelbytv.com, and just a photographer. Love to just kind of get out there and just kind of share and play around with stuff.
Looks like you have a Hangout +1 there with you in the back left.
Oh yeah, that's my wife Jen. She's kind of hanging out, and every now and again she's kind of like the color commentary in the back. She's actually watching Inception for the first time, so she's just kind of sitting there. She's like up to the last like 5 minutes of it. She's just kind of chilling in the back.
She needs to focus on that. That's great, Hans Zimmer.
I know, dude. I know.
Sweet Hans.
But yeah, so that's a link to my wife, Jen. I just put it over in the chat.
Well, thanks. Also, all you guys put links to your portfolio and your work or whatever you like here and in the main thread, so more people can see it. Let's say hi to Victor. Hello. Look at that shirt you have on with the Apple logo.
Yeah, baby.
We know your
Math all the
allegiance
way.
right away.
That's right. That's right. How you doing, Trey? Great to be here. And my name is Victor Cajiao, so I have the hardest name to pronounce on the entire internet. That's how you'll remember me. And just Victor is fine. And I run a couple of websites, podcast, typicalmacuser.com. I've been doing for about 6 years. And I take a lot of people who are new to the Mac and kind of show them the ropes. And we have a cool community of people there. And then I have a photography podcast called typicalshutterbug.com, where I interview smart and wonderful photographers like you who teach me how to do stuff better, and then at the same time, like everyone who's listening gets to learn. So yeah, a lot of fun doing both of those shows. I really enjoy them.
Yeah, if you guys are into Macs and that sort of stuff, you should definitely listen to his podcast. He's a great teacher. He's very patient. I met Victor the first time at a photo walk in San Clemente, and he's a really nice guy. Your avatar in Google Plus makes you look kind of little not so nice, I must say. But really, you're like the nicest guy in the world. You look a little bit angry in your avatar.
But that's it, man. I've been the nicest guy. You're such a nice guy. So a little attitude, you know. Yeah. You gotta do that sometimes.
Yeah, it is a little attitude. Yeah. I understand.
And I'm Cubano, so you know, I gotta keep that part of it real, you know.
Yeah. All right, let's go to a female, for goodness sakes. Let's start with Kelly. Hello, Kelly. Tell us about you.
Hi. I'm a stay-at-home mom. My youngest just started school this year, and my husband says I suffer from empty nest syndrome. So, and I'm not arguing with him. So, photography seems to have filled my void somewhat. Keeps me from at least sobbing from 9 to 3, you know, so it's probably a good thing. I am kind of really digging it very, very, very much. So I spend an embarrassing number of hours on Google Plus watching all of you and trying to learn a little bit more.
You love you some Google Plus, don't you?
Oh, I loves me Google Plus.
I thought so. Okay. Let's say hi to Angela. Angela, tell us all about you and these videos you do and your photography and this kind of stuff.
Hey everyone, so I've been into photography for about 10 years, but I've been doing HDR photography for a little bit more than a year. And since I've been doing HDR, I've been really getting into social media, so I've been doing videos like me vlogging everywhere I go and things like that, so people can just actually see the things that I have to go through to get some of the shots that I get.
It's hard to record yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And you're really paranoid about being in public, recording yourself. You just feel self-conscious about people staring at you and things.
I know. I've gotten over that over time, but it is a weird thing to record yourself in all the time. It feels very strange because I don't always have someone to help.
Yeah, exactly. It's just practice. Holding the camera out in front of you.
Yeah. Okay, let's say hi to Anna. Hello, Anna.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Rumiantseva. So I'm originally from Ukraine, but I'm living in US for almost 4 years. I'm in photography in about 1 year. It's like my hobby and my favorite stuff to do. I have a small baby, and he is now at the school. I have some free time, and I'm enjoying this. I'm doing now HDR photography. I like to do still life photography. If I'm not taking the pictures outside, I just do my editing inside in the house. So here is.
Good. Well, I think you're like me and a lot of people that we like being out to take photos just as much as we like post-processing indoors. Both are fun. Both are fun. You know, I've been to Ukraine 4 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I remember every one of them. They've been burned deep into my soul like one of those James Bond torture scenes.
I've seen one of your picture with the church, and this is an awesome picture.
Oh, was it
Thank you for
Kharkov?
sharing. No, it was in Kiev, Pечер, Lavra.
Спасибо. Let's say hi to let's say hi to Jaime here in Austin, a wonderful photographer. I can't wait for you guys to see his stuff. I don't mean to single him out because we'll look at everyone's stuff, but when you guys see his work, you'll just be blown away. Go say hello.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's like I don't really know much what to say. Like I am a musician. I am a photographer, and that's what I've been doing for the past most of my life. Actually, I come from I have a graphic design background. I used to sit in a cube all day working for the NASCAR industry, and worked in NASCAR for probably like maybe close to 4 years, but I've never been to the track once. I've never been to a race, and I'm proud to say that. It makes me happy. I was just doing it for the money. Don't judge me. But yeah, I take photos of pretty people, and I'm actually making most of my money teaching my color grading techniques, my post-production in Photoshop, and it's been quite a demand. I don't even know what to think about that, but it's definitely been a good thing for me. So that's pretty much what I do. I shoot whatever the heck I want to. It's usually a woman of some kind, and then I just edit photos, and attracts the attention of other photographers who want to learn how I do what I do.
I like that. It's usually a woman of some kind.
The good kind. Yeah, the good kind.
Well, I think that's interesting that you're kind of selling your techniques, because you have this amazing style, and I think when people see it, I'm excited to know that you're selling these. I want to go buy them all. I didn't even know you were doing that sort of thing. I'm very interested, because often I like to guess at how people do stuff and kind of make mistakes and find my way there, but I like to support you and just buy it and maybe take a shortcut.
I do it all online only. I do it on a one-on-one session, and I just been using, for lack of a better tool, there's probably something a lot better, but I just use Skype, and I use the screen share feature of Skype, and I just can walk whoever's taking a session with me. I just walk them through every step in my process, and that's pretty much it.
All right, well, we should do that this week. Whatever you want to charge me, I'll pay you big money, because it's awesome.
It's just cool for me to be here. Seriously,
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Or I'll just buy you a meal at Chewy's. We'll figure out one of those things.
Okay.
So I want to get started by talking about something that Jeremy put onto his Google Plus stream. I think he has figured out the key to getting high amounts of traffic on a post is just to mention HDR. It could be the most innocuous statement about HDR, where you're not saying anything good or bad. You just kind of throw that acronym in there, and everyone comes out with their opinion. So talk about that post and what you were going for, and this sort of thing.
Yeah, I mentioned just how it's really more of a personal place of where I am right now with photography. I didn't mean to stir the pot so much. I was just talking about how with HDR and with digital photography in general, like, you know, a lot of people can take really amazing images now. It seems like, you know, it used to be like you would see an 80% shift of terrible images. Now it seems like the 80% shift is really good images. And so I think all of this is just making me personally crave to get my hands dirty, to feel. I don't even know if I'm really talking film. For those of you that know me know that I've been doing a lot of fine art lately, a lot of drawing, a lot of painting, and so I think that's where I'm coming from, is just this desire to create with my hands and to feel things, and so it really wasn't at all a knock against HDR. I think, in fact, Trey, I have to admit, I think I have been one of those people that traditionally has been anti-HDR, but your images are so freaking good that I'm like sitting here every now and going, maybe I should start shooting some HDR images. And so I think you and RC and some other people are really, you know, I think HDR is good when it looks like the eye sees it. It's when it goes beyond what the eye sees that I don't like it. And so some of the images that you've posted, to me, look like how the eye accurately sees it, and that I really, really can respect and get behind. So yeah, it wasn't an anti-HDR post. It's just kind of where my mind has been lately, if that makes sense.
Well, you also kind of went off in a little bit of a different direction with that post too, which I thought was interesting. And You said something that I've always believed. I'm often more influenced by painters maybe than I love photography, of course, but the Impressionist. And one thing that Renoir has always said is that every painting should have a little bit of mystery, something that you're not quite telling the viewer, something like a mistake or something unusual, something in it that doesn't quite make sense. And in your post, you've indicated that oftentimes with HDR, everything can come out so perfect and so precise and so literal that there's nothing left in the imagination. Mm-hmm. And I know I've seen a lot of your work, and it seems like you try to have these weird things happening in your photos too, where there's room for interpretation.
Yes, there's always that intangible I'm searching for. You know, I don't know that my photos make people ask questions, but I definitely like to try to get something in the photo, whether it's the lighting or the composition or the background or the post-production. I always want something to make you kind of turn your head a little bit. And so yeah, I don't know how to define that really, but I definitely agree with that sentiment. So
you've been doing these things where you know, I like how some of these things you're doing defy categorization. You know, the way you're mixing up these photos together with textures and richness and kind of repainting them and pulling in digital art from various sources and mixing them all together and make something that's your own. You find some of this mysteriousness in these things that you make, and then you look at it when you're done and you're just kind of amazed at how the thing came together, because other people look at the things you create and they're amazed at how these things come together.
Yeah, I think my New Year's resolution this year was more personal work, and I didn't know where that was going, but I drew a picture of Tom York earlier this year that was a combination of Google Images and Photoshop, and I did a time lapse where I screen recorded the whole process, and it fascinated me. And so ever since then, I've been going down that path of just total creative exploration. And honestly, I don't think I've ever enjoyed creating as much as now, because I feel like I'm back in kindergarten, just exploring a new craft, a new process. I'm essentially making a music video in Photoshop. So yes, it's a blast. I'm having a good time with it.
Yeah, well, I can tell you're having fun with it. That's cool. Hey,
but you know, I gotta just say that one of the things that I think that's really, really cool that I'm enjoying with what's happening over the last couple of years, just kind of throw it back over to you, Trey. Like, I remember the entire Moments Between thing that you did, where you made that video in Japan, where you brought it down. I think it was like tenths, where you got this really, really, I don't really know what it was when I was taking a look at it, and it was one of those things where it's like, I think aside from like putting my hat off of, you know, being a teacher and doing the Photoshop thing and doing all that kind of stuff, there's something really, really cool about creating something that really doesn't have any kind of definition, that doesn't have any kind of box that you can kind of put it into. And it's just this emotional piece. It's just this thing that touches you in specific places, and you can't really quite put your finger on what it is, but it's just all based on just pure feeling. And that's one of the reasons I think that I got really, really into the HDR conversation, and one of the reasons that I'm a big fan of kind of exploring new technology and playing with it and mixing it up and seeing the kinds of things that you were doing, that you did with, like, you know, the Moments Between, and Trey doing the portraits. It's a really, really interesting time. Like, technology is just kind of opening up this really interesting sandbox.
Yeah, something wild is happening now, because now we have all these tools, and there's more and more clever people starting to play with them. And even this thing that Jeremy did, he has the end product. What did you call that? The Faces of Jesus? Is that what you called it?
Oh yeah, the Portrait of Christ that I created.
The Portrait of Christ. And then I don't want to ruin it by trying to describe what you did, but you created an amazing piece of art, and you recorded the screen as you were building it. I don't know how long it took you, hours and hours and hours, but you sped it all up so it looks like you did it super fast. You put it to music, and not only is the end creation something that but watching that video of the creation of the art is also a piece of art in itself, also which defies categorization. And these kinds of things weren't even possible 5 years ago. So I can't wait to see what happens in the next 5 years for this sort of childlike tool playing that we're all doing now.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm headed. I mean, I don't know that photography is my long-term goal. I feel like we're in the wild, wild west right now, and I want to lead that exploration. You know, I want to be on the team that's discovering the new paths. And so I have no idea what that means, and sometimes it's scary, but it's also really, really exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like that sort of uncomfortable unknown. I think you have to be comfortable with that, otherwise it's a little too scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so speaking of tools, let's go to Gordon. Not tools in that sort.
Wow.
Photography tools.
I knew you were going to say. That's it.
Wow,
wow.
That's a great segue right there.
Nice segue. Really smooth, Trey.
But tell us about something.
Is anyone else concerned about this little box that Trey's playing with? I think it contains some parallel evil universe he's about to unleash upon him.
It's some sort of Hellraiser cube.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
That's the Hellraiser box.
Either that or it's full of pepper or Parmesan cheese. I don't know.
Let me hold this up. So
Pinhead's going to show up in no time.
Yeah.
Really cool. You can't see all the designs. Let me turn up the brightness on them while I'm talking here. It's this really cool thing I got in China. Let me crank up the brightness here. And it's got all these, Targaryen-esque dragons on it. And it's all custom made, and then they did something on the bottom of it with all this custom Chinese lettering. And I do still old school handwritten thank you notes, and I stamp them with something kind of personal.
I hope you've had that translated by independent parties, Trey.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows what it might say. Just silly Caucasian bought this. So anyway, tell us about photographic tools, Mr. Gordon. You have all kinds of cool stuff you're reviewing. Tell us something awesome we might need to know.
I did want to, I'm going to, in just a minute, talk about the good and evil side of polarizing filters. So there is going to be a kind of a battle of good and evil. But first, just a little bit of gossip. Rumor has it, Canon is going to launch a new camera, possibly a professional DSLR, next Tuesday. The sensible money is that it could be finally a new 1D. And that's all I'm going to say. That's all I know. I haven't got any advanced information on this, but I know that you like a bit of gossip every now and again. So I think it's probably going to be the sports one, which isn't surprising with the Summer Olympics coming. So the rumors are saying something like full frame, which is unusual because the 1D was a 1.3 crop, so this is going to be a bigger sensor, hopefully more sensitive, but still really, really fast. So that's the gossip over and done with. How about some filters?
Wait, how many people in here are Canon shooters? Raise your hand to the camera if you're a Canon shooter. So all the gals.
Are there any 1D owners here? Whether 1DS or 1Ds?
I used to have one. I left it on a cab in Hong Kong, never to be found again. So,
hey Keith, what do you use to shoot with?
I'm using a Casio.
You're muted. Oh, sorry.
No, can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. You're just delayed. I'm sorry.
I'm using a Casio point and shoot, but all the video equipment I have here in the studio is Canon. So, HV20, 30.
Okay. You just upgraded your studio, right?
I did some networking changes. The quality we're getting right now is probably the best we've ever gotten on the recording. So
good.
When
Thank you again for recording these and
oh no, I love doing it.
It's fantastic.
If anybody wants to increase their Hangout audience to a live stream, I'd love to do it for them. And when I go after,
please contact Keith.
Yes, and when I go after an HDR, I'm getting an Nikon.
No, anything can produce a good HDR.
Yeah, but I figured it would be easier to ask you questions if I have a Nikon.
Well, maybe so.
That's the key. Like a lot of the times people ask me, they're always just like, well, what's better, Nikon or Canon? And it's like obviously everybody knows that it's Nikon, but what happens is no, totally kidding. But usually like the answer that I usually tell everybody, and I'm like, you know what, the camera you get is the camera your friends have, because that's usually where you can get your lenses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Well-
I have no investment in anything right now, so I can start with whatever I want. My dad, who was a photographer, was a Hasselblad person, so I saw Hasselblads a lot in film days. But so no, I have no brand loyalty right now, so I'm an open book.
Yeah. Well, in all seriousness, if you do end up getting sort of a mid-tier Nikon, they can do a lot better HDR than the Canons because they can go beyond -2 and +2 without having to adjust the anchor point exposure bracketing. You get to really nice ranges with the Nikon, and I know that's a point of frustration for some of my Canon friends that I go out to shoot with. So anyway, think about that. Sorry, Gordon, I interrupted you. You were about to say
No problem.
something wonderful, no doubt.
Well, I'll try and match that expectation, Trey, at least by 30%. I wanted to talk about polarizing filters, which are the best filters, the only filter you need, because everything else can be simulated with software. Polarizers can't. I'm sure all of you know, and everyone who's watching this will know what a polarizer can do. They can eliminate reflections, they can give a greater saturated image, they can really cut through haze. So I'm going to take a big risk here and start sharing my desktop, and last time I did this with Trey, the whole call dropped and I disappeared. So this could be a very merciful ending to my explanation, in which case I wish you well and see you next week. But in the event it will work, I'm going to show you a picture. So let's see. Wouldn't you know it, the thing's already not doing it. This thing is just mad.
I love to see a master with his tools.
Absolutely. Okay, can you see this picture?
Yes.
Okay, this is actually quite a relevant picture because Trey's just posted a similar picture. This is the Remarkables mountain range with Queenstown in the foreground. This is taken from the Skyline Gondola in Queenstown, New Zealand, which is where I live. And this really demonstrates what you can do with a polarizer. This is without a polarizer. And anyone who's never used a polarizer is going to go, oh my God, because that's with a polarizer. That is literally 1 minute later. I'm going to go back to the one without and see how it's kind of really hazy. And now the one with, and you can see how the colors are just a lot more, it's a lot more contrasty, it's a lot more saturated. So that's the great thing about polarizers. However, they're not for everything. I know a lot of people put a polarizer on and expect it to transform all their pictures. But if your sky is completely overcast, like in this sort of picture, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to turn that sky deep blue. It might actually reduce some reflections, so you could use it for that, but it's not going to turn that sky blue. However, if that sky really is blue, what it can do if you're not careful is turn it almost black. And this is what I wanted to talk about in terms of the dark side of polarizers, is that I'm going to admit, because we're with friends here, that I am addicted to polarization. And especially in conjunction with wide-angle lenses and deep blue skies. And it's just so easy to keep turning that polarizer around until that sky gets darker and darker and darker. And you end up with a photo like this. And I mean, I quite like this photo, but I think I've ruined it. Now I look back at it, and the sky at the top is almost jet black. I'll show you another one. I had one chance to go to Easter Island. I'll probably never go back to Easter Island. And I still have this polarizer madness. And he's still got this incredibly deep, dark color in the corner. So my kind of tip, if you're really into using polarizers, and they are addictive, is to dial it back a little bit. Don't always go for the maximum effect, but most importantly of all, take two pictures. Take one with the polarizer and one without. Because as I found when I've gone over some of my older pictures, I kind of look at pictures like this and think, man, I wish I'd taken a picture without a polarizer, because I feel I've kind of overcooked it slightly here, and it's something that you can't remove. It's not like changing the white balance in a RAW file. This is permanently burnt into the image, and there's nothing I can do. It particularly affects ultra-wide angle lenses like this. If I go to this as a telephoto shot with a polarizer that cut through the haze, this was taken from a long way away, and great for this kind of shot. This one, I've just about got away with it, but this one again, it's just too scary. Or I think it's too scary.
Hey, where was that mountain range for the telephoto shot? The jagged peaks.
That was Torres del Paine in Patagonia, which is an unbelievable place. Beautiful, beautiful landscapes. Yeah. If you've never been, it's an awesome park for hiking and photography. I've got a couple of pictures of it in the travel photo album on my stream if anyone's interested. There's the towers, the really famous, kind of pointy bits, towers, in fact. Very early in the morning at sunrise, they get illuminated by the rising sun if it's not cloudy. About 1 minute, and it really is only about 1 minute. They turn bright pink, kind of bright orange, and it's so spectacular. You're like, wow, that's fantastic. And anyone who's been there before is take the picture, man, take the picture. And I'm like, no, I want to appreciate it with my eyes. They go, take the picture. And as they're saying that, I'm looking at it and thinking, the colour's going, it's fading. In the lights, I can't believe it. It really is only lasting 45 seconds. So you're taking the pictures as fast as you can. I made the mistake of trying to change a lens midway through, and you're dropping it and throwing it around, and I really blew it a couple of times because you've got to do this hike, about 1.5 hour hike in pitch darkness across a river, which is a bit hairy. Trying to follow, yeah, that's a similar sort of shot.
This is it, yes. I know that hike.
It's very similar.
That hike is brutal. Yeah, that's it. Or here's another one of it. That hike in the morning up the icy side of the mountain is brutal when you're carrying all that stuff. But yeah, that only lasts for about 10 seconds, and you got to get it.
Yeah, and I almost missed that, which was kind of really worrying because you kind of want to enjoy. I'm kind of like a bit torn as a photographer because sometimes I want to actually experience the scene myself rather than just always living through the actual recorded image. But I always try and do both, and that's where it almost didn't work out. I'm going to show you a picture of it on the side. I'm not. Who cares? I'm just going to talk to you instead. That's my polarizer tip. Don't overcook it.
Do any of you guys use
HDR, Mr. Ratcliffe?
Do any of you other guys or gals use polarizers? Raise your hand if you use a polarizer.
Sometimes.
You do, Angela?
Yeah, sometimes I do.
Sometimes you do, RC?
Use it?
Oh no, I was just saying that I've gotten lazy as of late. I tend to on things like split grads and polarizers and things. I usually have that be something that I do more in post than I do on like split grad was one of those things that used to bother me all the time. You would do a split grad of a landscape, and then you would have a tree that would be like half dark and half bright. And you're sitting there, you're like going, really? That's good. So it was one of those things where I just turned around and I was just like, you know what? I'll start doing most of that stuff in software. That said, I think that getting the capture right, and that's one of those things that I'll give you a lot of credit on those shots. I mean, those are great shots, Gordon. That getting the capture right is a lot of the times is essential, right? Because you don't want to really you don't want to play around correcting stuff inside of Photoshop. This set is a Photoshop guy, but it's just it literally is just pure laziness on my part.
Hey, it looks like Jeremy has a +1.
Aww.
Yeah,
I do. This is
Uh-oh, he got a little quiet there.
Jeremy, no.
It was too cute. It was too much bandwidth of cuteness was taken up. It was cute overload.
5
She's
gigabits
so
of cuteness.
adorable.
Oh no. Hey, Angela, you said you use a polarizer sometimes when you're shooting?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes.
Do you use HDRs with polarizers both together?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Actually, I have a picture right here that I use a polarizer and...
Oh, share it for us. Let's check it out.
Do you see it?
Yeah, I do.
That's nice.
That one was right before Hurricane Irene came in Virginia, and I used a polarizer and HDR for this image.
That's sweet.
Right.
Thank you.
Does the polarizer extend your shutter times a little bit because it darkens up a bit?
It does. It does. Just, it is pretty noticeable sometimes, but I mean, for an image like this, it didn't matter how long the length of the shutter speed was. So.
And when do you make your choice whether to use a polarizer or not?
Well, for this image, I wanted to use it because I knew it would be more dramatic, especially with the clouds and things like that. But usually I just tend to it's just trial and error. I'll pick it up sometimes, and sometimes I won't even use it.
Ah, okay.
Trey, an interesting aside about that, because the downside to polarizers is obviously that they do absorb, maybe 50% of the light, maybe a bit more, depending on what type you've got. And that's obviously seen as a bad point traditionally, but it can also be a good point, because if you're doing a kind of longer exposure during the day to kind of blur water, for example, you frequently find yourself in a situation where there's too much light, even at the lowest ISO, even at f22. You can't get the shutter speed down enough to blur the water. A polarizer can act as a neutral density filter. Likewise, when you're filming video, I love filming video with DSLRs. One of the great things is having a nice shallow depth of field. So you want to film everything at f2.8, but you also want to use a shutter speed of, say, a 30th or a 50th in order not to get shuddery motion. And again, even at 100 ISO, if the sun's out, you don't stand a chance. Your aperture closes down to f22, you lose any shallow depth of field effect. So having anything that can actually block light. And if anyone's heard of variable neutral density filters, you can actually simulate that with two polarizers on top of each other. Because if you turn one, you'll slowly make the picture darker and darker and darker, and then some weird stuff happens. So turn it back at that point. Abort the mission. But at some point, you can actually use it as a variable ND filter. So for video, that light absorption can be useful.
Yeah. Hey, Kelly, is Kelly still here? Where are you, Kelly? There you are. You changed boxes. Do you use any kind of filters on your camera, or do you go commando?
Whoa.
Well, on the camera, if it's a bright day, then I have a polarizing filter for my 17 to 55. My 100mm, I don't use one for.
Well, you do a lot of macro stuff, right? Yeah. I don't know much about macro. Are filters common with macro photography?
You're asking me like I'm an expert on it.
Well, I know you're just getting started, but I thought you might have some.
No, I honestly don't know, but for the macros I've shot, whether it's the middle of the day or after it's rained or whatnot, my photos, for me, seem to have come out the same. I mean, once you kind of zoom in that far, as long as there's not really harsh shadows, I mean, you're talking about stamen, you're really close. So if there is a shadow, it's kind of nice anyway. So that's been my experience. My bigger thing with macros and taking photos of flowers outside is really the wind. Even the tiniest breeze screws everything up. So I'm always impressed by so many of these floral macros that are done outside, because I'm using the tripod, I'm using the 2-second delay, I'm using the, I take off image stabilization and all that whatnot, and I just touch it and I try to not do anything, for as long as it takes to take the shot. But even then, despite that fact, sometimes I screw it up. So lots of times I screwed up. But so oftentimes I actually just snip the flower and bring it inside and try to figure out a way to make it look natural, so that there is absolutely zero breeze. But to answer your story in a very long way, no, I don't use a filter on my macro.
Okay. Well, when you snip it and bring it back in, and you take pictures of it indoors, do you have any kind of special background you use to make it look like you're actually outdoors, or trick it up a little bit?
I should probably come up with something like that. And when I have brought it inside, I've either brought it inside and still left the screen door to the outside open so there's light shining in, so I get some sort of natural light. Or and I've got some like white poster board that I've thrown up behind it, just so that there's a very matte, background there, so I can always tweak it later and make it kind of look a little bit different. But nothing replaces that beautiful green and colorful bokeh that you might get if you were to put, if it were outside.
Yeah.
So, maybe if we talk in a year, I'll have that mastered, but right now I don't.
Does anybody else here do macro stuff?
I'm doing the macro.
You do, Anna? Tell us about that.
I just learning how to do the macro, but I have a little bit experience. I'm doing flowers and the bugs. I have in my portfolio on the Google Plus some of my shots. If you're really interested, someone really interested, you can just go and look at them. I never use a polarize for macro shot. I don't know why. maybe just because I didn't know enough about this. So.
Well, do you have any, as long as we've started sharing a few images here, do you have some you'd like to share with us that you've done?
With the macro, I didn't prepare any image, but I can do it. I can look for it right now.
Hey, Trey, while Anna's looking for that, I'm going to bid you all farewell.
Okay, you have to go make food for your children, right?
I do. They're gnawing my leg.
I know how it feels. Have you tried the cereal on the floor thing? It works for me.
I know. You can get them to do really interesting patterns.
Yeah.
They're like human Roombas.
So it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Thanks for having me on again, Trey. And I really look forward to seeing the rest of this on Keith's stream or wherever it's going to be posted later.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Gordon. Bye.
Have a good night. See you.
Okay, so Anna is sharing her screen here. All right, Anna, tell us. What do you mean you're just dabbling in macro photography? You put up this award-winning shot right away.
I'm dabbling. I'm dabbling and making awesome shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's cool. That's really cool.
So this photo was taken in Botanical Garden, Atlanta Botanical Garden. I just was very lucky. I was looking for butterflies, but just and this day was just a one. I think so. So I was chasing this butterfly for about 1 hour. And I got this shot. I think so.
That's awesome. I totally feel the pain of following a creature and trying to get its shots. Same thing happens with kids. But particularly with bugs, it's extremely frustrating. Extremely frustrating. You nailed it, by the way.
It's a great shot.
Yeah. Great shot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very good. Anything else you want to show us while you're sharing screen?
So I have one picture from the Georgia Aquarium. So, this is. I took this picture actually. With my, on the picture is my son.
We're just seeing a black screen. At least I see a black screen.
He's very moody.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Maybe you shared the wrong screen.
Yeah, maybe.
It's an amazing shot of a flower at night. Well done. Dumb joke.
Oh, I don't know what's going on.
It's okay. This is
it's the psychedelic.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Inception.
I used to look so much younger.
There we go.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
So
I got to get me some talent.
The Georgia Aquarium is our favorite place to visit. Actually, we have a membership and go every weekend. But on this day, it was a special day because the divers was in aquarium. And my son, when he sees the divers, he was so surprised. And he keeps stays and looking at this window. And I just was looking at my camera and I did this shot. It was 3 shots, and one of them was just lucky. I got the divers, I got the fishes, and he is so small in front of these huge windows. I think it's. I just love this picture.
So do we.
Yes.
That's a great shot. That's a great shot.
I love the circle of light on the floor around him too. That kills.
What a story. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very good. Thank you for showing us that. Do you have any other gems you're just going to whip out for us?
I've been to that aquarium. It's an amazing place.
Yeah, I've heard really cool things about that.
So the other picture what I have, this is like my first introduction to an HDR. I just want to look at this very quick. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
Okay.
Ooh, I dig that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
So the picture was taken in Emerald City Beach in Florida. It was a very nice evening with the amazing sky, almost a sunset. And I was looking for a nice place, and I found this pier. And it takes some time. It's a long exposure shot. 1 RAW shot, and in a home, I created HDR shot from 1 RAW shot. So
It's great. Hey, let me ask you a larger question. When did you first realize that you had an eye for photography? Because you definitely do.
You know, my husband actually, he's a photographer, and sometimes I helped him to do some editing on his photos. So one day I decided that I can take my photos by myself, and I started just about 1 year ago, and I don't know, I just like it.
We do
I
too.
love to do it.
That's great. I hope everybody circles you and starts looking at your work.
Yeah.
That's a nice story, though, because there's a lot of spouses of photographers that start playing around with it, but they just aren't that good. You know, they just never quite get it, or they try and they kind of want to be, but it just doesn't, you know, like, this maybe isn't for you. And, you know, I mean, it sounds like a mean thing to say, but it is true. And
That's pretty much
every
what
now
you
and
say.
then you just, I wonder why certain people they just have an eye for it, and why it clicks with some people and why it doesn't. It's a very mysterious thing.
I never think before that I'm gonna be a photographer. It was for my husband, you know, to take family pictures, to take pictures with me. I wasn't pretend on his place. But one day I just decided to do a couple shots, and my first shots was a still life with the glass photography. And I put it on a Russian forum and internet, and people like it. So from this step, I started to learn more and more and more, and I'm now became a photographer.
Yeah, I think it's wild that some of the best stories that I've ever heard on photography and people that become photographers have one thing in common, and more often than not, it's like, dude, I never went to school for photography. I didn't study this. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that do it, you know, with photography and school and background and things like that. But it really does make you kind of chase. If there's a message, I think that a lot of people need to be able to kind of understand is some of the best photography really does come from a basis in emotion, and a lot of that stuff comes from, you know, a lot of the times you're chasing feeling more than you're chasing technicality. And I think that over the last couple of years, you've seen a lot of people kind of running around and going, all right, well, let's compare the 1D Mark III to the D3S. So let's look at the D90 sensor size versus the sensor size over here. And you get into this entire measure baiting conversation where they're just kind of sitting there and they're just going over and over and over all of these technical details. And yeah, as Jeremy pans over to his kids and they're like, Daddy, what's that?
It's an RC.
Hey, what's going on, guys? God,
That's creepy Uncle RC over there.
Put some gloves on, RC.
Hey. Wow. They're getting big, dude. They're getting big. Wow. But it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, sometimes I think that just to kind of get, you know, a little bit more, you know, global about this kind of stuff, I think that sometimes we need to kind of step back and start checking how we act when it comes to this kind of stuff. There's a lot of new people that are coming into this game and are looking at the people at Google Plus and are looking at the people that are out here. And when they see us kind of running around going, well, D90 versus this, and Canon versus Nikon, and this lens versus this lens, and the new people that are coming in going, all right, well, I guess that's the conversation that I need to get in. You know, that's the place that I need to be at. And one of the things that I've loved about what's happening on Google Plus is that there's a lot more conversation about kind of the art or the message or the emotion that's behind it. Because I think that at the end of the day, those are the kinds of things that make more symbolic images. You know, you can shoot it with a Pentax, you can shoot it with a Canon, you can shoot it with all these different things. So I love hearing stories like that. I love hearing stories where, you know, Anna comes out and goes, you know what, I kind of just started doing it because I loved it. And it's like, that's very inspiring to anybody who's watching this. That's very, the person who's sitting there who just bought this camera and goes, I don't know why I like it, I just like it. It's like, you know what, you guys are on the best path.
Thank you.
Guys are gonna be totally all right. So it's cool.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
think it's great too. One of the, I don't know if problem is the right word, but I think a lot of photographers that get into the sport of it are usually like very smart, high IQ kind of people, and they're very analytical. And it's slippery slope because you can accidentally throw your analytical brain into the equipment side of things and really start thinking about the optics and the f-stop, and that is a dangerous pit to go into. I think if you do have one of these analytical minds, keep it somewhere else, like in the stock market, or be a programmer or do something else with your analytical mind, and kind of let the emotional, artistic side reign in the photography rather than overthinking the number side.
Yeah, I totally did that, Trey. I've been shooting for about 3 years. I've been shooting all my life, but got into shooting, and I've been through this arc, where I started with the D90, and it got to be about the equipment. But the more photographers that I interviewed and learned from, that arc is completely changing. And just yesterday, I sold my D700 body. I'm buying a 4/3 camera to start street photography because it's like grabbing me at the core of why I want to do it. It's like just to grab that moment. And so I totally, I'm so right with you with that. And it was the conversation. And there is the time for that theory part of photography. And then there's the time to just shoot, and to grab moments.
Especially with one of those things where it's like I look back to like the genesis, like when I started as a photographer, and I came in really from like the back end. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I used to do was software. I was a big software guy, and I started out, or actually early, I started out in the arts, and then I kind of moved over into software. And somebody would put somebody would put a camera in front of me, and I'd be like, oh, I don't understand this box. No, you know what? I'm the computer guy. I'm the guy who solves all the computer problems. And I would hide from that. And I remember there was a very, very distinct moment where I turned around and I said, you know what? I'm just going to forget it. I'm going to turn around and I'm just going to go, you know what? I'm just going to jump into it. And it's kind of a moment of surrender. You just kind of just surrender to it, and you go, all right, it's going to suck. Pictures are going to suck. Things that I show people is going to suck, but I'm going to come out of it, and it's going to be okay. And there's a lot of people that I think that sit there with those cameras and go, I can't share. I can't put my stuff on Google Plus. I can't put my stuff online. And it's like, you'd be surprised that spot where you don't think that you're good enough is a very, very brief spot. It changes, but it's a very, very brief spot.
And you have to change the way that you think too. I mean, why are you trying to compare yourself to someone also? I mean, at some point you take pictures because they make you happy, right? And when you look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. It makes me feel so good. And not just the taking of the shot, but then when you processed it, you're like, oh, this feels good. This feels right. And I can't even tell you, I don't even know the official rules of photography in any way at all. I'm pretty sure, I'm absolutely certain that most of the shots that I post on Google Plus don't follow the rules of cropping or the rules of pretty much anything. But I post them because I like the way they look, and they make me feel good. And if somebody else looks at it and says, oh, I like that, then that's cool too. It's all good. I don't necessarily post to make them happy. Otherwise, I would be doing what the book says I should, and crop to the thirds, or do this or whatnot, and pretty much almost everything I do, as far as I know, aren't right. but I like it, and I love that there are people there, regardless whether they're photographers or not, that are always there to say something about it. Whether it's, maybe I would have done something different, or, wow, that's cool, I never thought of that. I mean, there's such a really, really loving community here that it's really hard to get off Google Plus to do anything. I occasionally take a bathroom break, but that's about it, because it's really awesome here. I love it.
Oh, cool.
For
Thanks
instance,
for saying that,
I will show you. Yeah, I'm not done.
No, go on, tell us. Yeah. Show us.
Thank you. I figured you were going to say that right about now. Kelly, show us something. Show us something good. I'm going to show you something. Pretty much, I think. Let's see. I'm going to try to share this. I think that, I don't know, maybe this is something that's proper or not. But I don't care if it's proper or not. For me, for some reason, I liked it. You know, I have no idea if it's good or not, but I felt good making it. It felt good posting it, and I liked it. You know, but occasionally I look at the Lightroom, you know, cropping helper, and it tells me I'm wrong, and that's all right too. And there's another one.
No, that was very good. I think anybody would tell you the same thing, and you seem to always say, like, I don't know if it's proper or right or whatever. Don't worry about all that nonsense. I think RC or Jeremy or anybody would tell you it's all, you know, if it feels right, just post it. That's all that matters. It really is.
You'd be surprised as to how many of those rules are usually applied after the fact. You'd be surprised as to, like, sometimes when you take a really, really good shot. The best example that I have, when I first started my career, I was actually an English teacher, and I was into literature quite a bit. And there was this poem by a guy named William Carlos Williams, who was a big beatnik poet. And I think the poem's called "This Is Just to Say."
Like it,
and it's basically it's a very short poem. It just says, "This is just to say that I ate the plums that were in the icebox. They were so delicious, so sweet, so cold." And I remember people writing all sorts of papers about it and the existentialist meaning of this and blah, 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 blah of that. And I think at one point, William Carlos Williams was interviewed, and they were just like, you know, what did it all mean? And he was like, that was a note that I left for my wife, telling them about the plums that I ate. And you'd be surprised as to sometimes, like, you create, not to sound cliche, but you create from, you know, your hands just kind of motivate what's happening in your heart, and you create from that spot. And when you do that, when it comes from a good place, people will prescribe all sorts of cool rules to it. They'll be like, oh my God, you see how she broke this, but she did this instead, and the weight of this, and people will find rules for you to be able to follow at the end of the day. So it's just like, you know, create from the heart, let people assign the rules for it.
Word. I like that.
I've never cared about a rule. If I can speak, I'm the guy that's been sitting in the back of the classroom this whole time. It was like, for me, like, I've never read the instruction manual for anything that I've ever bought, electronic-wise, photography-wise. I have a music degree, for God's sake. I've never studied photography. You know, I kind of don't want to know what the rules are, because I think they'll hinder me in many, many, many ways. You know, maybe that's not the most progressive way to go about things, but like, I'm happy. I'm really happy doing what I'm doing, and my ignorant bliss that I float around in. I don't care. I don't care about learning the rules. I'm very, very, very non-technical. To me, like, the camera is just an obstacle between me and the human being that I'm trying to take photos of. You know, if I could deal away with the camera altogether, because for me, it's about the connection. That's the one and only thing that I care about when I'm shooting. So rules, I don't know how many rules, you know, come into play with what I do anyway. You know, maybe I violate.
An awesome connection, by the way. Your images kill.
Well,
you can share some, right?
Well, am I butting in on somebody else's turn here? Because I didn't mean to do that.
No.
I'm gonna try to do my monitor.
Yeah, show us yours, man.
Yeah, thank you for showing those, by the way, Kelly. You didn't really talk about those other two flower shots, but I thought they were great. Really nice.
Yeah, they were nice. I'm sorry, I felt like I butted in.
No.
But I've also been very quiet.
Yes.
I have lots of stuff to say, but
I've actually been very excited because I really love your work. I followed you from the moment you got on here, and I heard about you here. So I'm actually very excited to hear you talk.
You know, all I ever try to do is to create a palpable connection, you know, between me and whoever's in front of my camera. And I learned a long time ago, I mean, there's a tremendously huge difference between between looking at the camera versus looking at the person holding the camera. You know, every photo that I take, and you see, they're reacting to me. All these people in these photos, they're not reacting to the camera. I mean, these are real moments. I hardly ever stage anything. It's also kind of damned me to a life of I always have my camera with me all the time, because you never know what's going to happen, and then I'm the freak walking around with the camera everywhere it goes. I don't care. Like, you never know. Like this little panel. This was lunch with my girlfriend up in New York, being silly, you know. Just like, she's not, yeah, she's making funny faces because I'm holding the camera, but I mean, that's all I have ever cared about, and just, you know, trying to remember that is a human being in front of the camera. And that human being has stories, and that human being has emotions, and they have everything in the world in common with you. You know, we have our differences too, but I mean, they're a human, and connect with these people that are in front of your camera. You know, interact with them. In point of fact, I mean, if I don't create that connection, or if I can't tap into that connection, I won't even pick up the camera, because honestly, I feel like the photo's gonna, you know, in my mind, it's gonna stink. You know, I want it to be real. Like, you don't get me, like this one. I love this one, and
awesome.
That's my tattoo artist and her husband. Amazingly cool people that let me do this only like 2 days after I met them. That would open their home up, you know, to something like this. But a lot of it's because we became instant friends, and I think if you create that connection, the photos kind of take themselves, honestly, you know, because now there's no walls up anymore. But that's my take on it. You know, I take a lot of these photos of people sitting across the table from me at a restaurant, because there's a comfy environment. You know, if you're a new photographer and you're looking to take portraits, this is a great idea to do, just because you're going to get these really very human moments.
Can
Everybody,
I ask you? Can
yes.
I interrupt for a moment? Especially in the restaurant when you're across the table, what lens do you use?
I own but one lens. I shoot with a Canon 5D Mark II, and I have a 24-70L. That's it.
Right
That's
on.
it. I'm the least technical person out of this group, I guarantee you. I didn't even know what focal length was until a month ago when I asked my photographer friend. I said, what is focal length, and why do I care? You know, for me, I don't guess I really need to know, you know. And that's
wonderful.
fine.
Keep showing us photos while you're talking. I think I'm gonna watch this all night.
Really?
And that's the most inspiring thing for anybody who's watching this on the stream over at Keith Barrett. That's the one thing. Like, if anybody can walk in and be like, surprise, it's not about the gear.
Right.
It's so totally not about the gear, and I would tell people all the time. It's like, you know what I say every time, and I'm sure you've all heard this at least a dozen times. It's like, what kind of camera do you use? I see your photos, and I say, well, what kind of camera do you use? And like, it doesn't matter, you know. Or they'll say like, oh, your camera takes really nice pictures, and to which I like to reply, your mouth makes really nice compliments. Thank your mouth for me.
My oven cooks really great dinners.
Yes, boy, does it ever. I mean, it's not the camera.
No.
It's I don't know. For me, it's just about creating that connection, just getting that. I play with mood. Mood is important. And this girl in this photo, she's trying her best not to laugh. I don't know when to turn down the humor knob when I'm shooting. I think I'm incapable of doing that. This one I can speak of. I don't know if you guys know who Lissy is. She's one of my all-time favorite female singers on the planet. And I was actually given 30 minutes to photograph her when she came to Austin to do a show. And the connection that I had with her tour manager, said, okay, we're here, you can come down, we'll give you 30 minutes with her. And I think a lot of new photographers might have gone in there thinking, oh my God, I only have 30 minutes, and go quick over here, click, and just start firing off and doing like the pray and spray approach, where you just take 50 million photos and pray that one of them is going to come out well. I spent, I would say, 21 minutes of my 30 minutes simply talking to her. I didn't even pick up my camera. My job is I'm gonna connect with this lady the best of my ability. I don't have much time to do it, but I think that's time better spent. Because once that, like I said, once the connection is made, the photos take themselves. It's almost like you're on autopilot. And during those 20-some minutes, I'm sitting there and I'm kind of doing a kind of psychologically profiling, sort of. I'm figuring out what makes her smile, what makes her blush, what makes her do this flirty things like play with her hair. I'm finding out all these things, what makes her frown, what makes her do this and that. And then when it's time to pick up the camera, now I can use these things. And the smile on her face, here in this sequence, it's very real. It's very real, and you may laugh when I tell you what she's smiling at specifically, because she asked me, did I want some tea? Because she was going to go, she's due to go on stage in an hour, and she wanted some tea for her throat. And I said, and I saw the tea bags. I said, oh, is that the herbal laxative tea? She's like, oh, no, not before a show. This is for my throat. So we started this, my fault, we started this whole joking about herbal laxative tea. But you know what? It made her smile, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. And to me, it's just about connection, and that's all I care about, honestly.
It doesn't hurt your heart.
What's that?
Yeah.
I just said it doesn't hurt your heart. Just...
Hey, me, they're saying that you're hot, by the way.
I am so not.
We'll disagree.
That's just coming from a very heterosexual place, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
we can have a man crush. That's cool.
Right. But you know what, dude? That's a really, really good point. And I gotta say, like, credit to Jeremy, credit to you, and that kind of stuff. If there's one thing a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to portraits, it's the photographer's bedside manner.
Mm-hmm.
It's the bedside manner of a photographer is absolutely important. I usually tell people, the example that I usually give people is, for a person who's not used to having a picture taken in front of them, this is the most intimidating thing in the world.
Yeah. You know why? Can I speak of this? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is along those lines. Think about when you're a kid, and you think about every time it's like your birthday or it's Christmas, and your parents go, what Santa bring you? Did you get socks? Hold up the socks, little Billy. Hold it up. And then they hold the camera and they go, smile. And they won't take the flipping photo until you produce this stupid, cheesy, fake smile. You're like, okay, click. Everybody hates that. Everybody hates that. And I think that's the one thing that people remember. I don't know if they're thinking about that, but as an adult, someone points a camera at you, then they remember, and they're a kid again. It's Christmas, like, oh no. So that's why I never ask anybody to smile. I never ask anybody to look this way or act that way. It's like, as far as I'm concerned, that's my job. That's my job to elicit that from them, realistically. Because even actors that I've shot, very good at what they do, there's still never a smile. Yeah, they can kind of fake it, but there's something completely different between a real smile and an artificial one.
Now watch a 180 on this, just on the technical thing. Like, a lot of the time, so we just finished having this conversation where we talked about technicalities and all that important. But that's the one part. Like, if you go back to talking about like the photographer bedside manner, when a person's in front of you and you're taking a picture of them, it really does feel like a firing line. Mm-hmm. And what happens is, a lot of the times I tell people, tech isn't all that important. Pick a tech, right? Pick a camera, pick whatever it is. But then at that point, when you do that, I think that it's incumbent on you to be able to learn your gear, learn the gear that you chose, learn the camera that you got, learn it well. Because what happens is, a lot of the time, like I tell people, when you get your camera, pick up your camera, you should be able to change like all of the settings in your camera with your hands without even looking down. You should be able to just do everything, because the worst thing that I've ever seen is just this thing where people are like, all right, just wait right there. Wait, just wait. Okay, wait.
In the moment, it's gone.
Yeah, well, the person sitting there going, all right, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then all of a sudden pop. And they're like, oh my God, it just happened. It just happened. The worst thing that you can do as a photographer is this. Oh, shit. Because then that person's sitting there going, is it me? Did I mess that up?
Right.
Did I? And so a lot of the times I tell people, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. You work with your gear much to a point where you're just having that connection, and all you're playing with your gear and you're changing your gear, and the eyes are just connecting with the person, and you're talking to the person, and there's that level of trust. It's like, I got this thing that's in my hand. I got this. It's cool. This is okay. Well, I'm just going to worry about you. And that translates, just to throw it over to Jeremy real quick, that translates infinitely well. It translates well in your portraits, Jeremy. It translates phenomenally well to your portraits, Jaime.
Jaime.
Hey, RC.
Jaime, it's Jaime. Isn't it Jaime?
Jaime.
Jaime. There you go.
Hi, may I help you?
Jaime.
So RC and everyone else, you guys know the crazy thing about Jaime is, so he's showing these pictures. You think, oh, these are probably some of these portfolio pieces. He's just picking out the best, but he literally has thousands of these photos. I mean, and I'm not kidding. He has so many of these photos. Well, we have to have him on again. Let me ask you one real quick thing, Jaime, because your photos have, obviously I'm obsessed with the color palette you use and the processing style and whatnot. That'll bleed through in this question, but we all see Instagram stuff all the time. We all like Instagram to a certain degree, some more than others. But your photos, they're not like Instagram. They are, but they're like way better. Like you couldn't ever do any of that stuff you do with Instagram. So what is that we're seeing? What's going on?
Well, I don't exactly know what Instagram is. Speaking of being technical, can you explain what that is really quickly?
Well, it's a really popular iPhone app that people use, and they take a photo, and then it runs these what are now popularly known as Instagram-like filters that really heavily cross process them and really heavy vignettes and do these looks that are vaguely like yours, but not nearly as well manicured as yours.
I'll tell you. Obviously, I teach that for a living. But where do those? I think if you're asking me, where do the colors come from, or are you asking?
Well, the question is now moot because I'm asking you to compare apples and oranges, and you don't know what I mean.
I can.
So, but also, I don't want to steal your thunder. I want everyone to buy your one-on-one course.
All right. Well, for me, what a lot of people don't know, and it's something that I wasn't ever. Initially, I wasn't sure I was going to be comfortable telling people, but I have a condition known as synesthesia, and I have color synesthesia, and I actually hear colors, and the color palette that you see in my work, largely, like if you look at a thumbnail of a thumbnail gallery, you'll see a lot of the same color palette that repeated these orange and blue relationships and orange and blue and greens and how I match everything up. Simply put, to me, those are just, I mean, you could apply color theory to that. Anybody could learn to do that. But I think with me, it's just kind of automatic. I've always been drawn to those colors. And so I basically mix my colors. I mix the colors that sound the nicest together is the best way I can describe it. I don't know if that even, I think I've strayed far, far away from your question. I'm not sure.
No, that's fascinating to hear that you've got synesthesia in that way. That's I think a lot of great artists do have various degrees of mixed synesthesia. So that's fascinating.
But I've always been this way. I didn't even know I had it until about 10, 11 years ago. I didn't even know what it was. So
that's a great thing to have.
So in some cases, I met somebody who they have texture taste association. Like when they touch a texture, no, they taste applesauce or something like that. I was like, some of those combinations would just boggle my, that would make me crazy, you know? But I guess I'm lucky in this sense. Maybe mine's kind of a bit of a superpower, maybe in color.
It is a superpower.
Yeah.
Channeled it well.
Yeah.
But, hey, Jeremy, I was going to ask you before when your daughter was on, we got to see her, but it was like cute overload, and then you dropped out.
And she's super cute.
I tried to hit a key command, and I like pulled up a whole nother website, so that was totally my fault. Sorry about that.
No problem. Will you tell everybody a little bit about Help Portrait? I mean, we're talking about taking pictures of people, and it's something totally different that not everyone knows about. So talk about that some.
Yeah, let's see, 2008, I wanted to do something with my camera to help people, and so put together a simple event at the local, shelter, and just gave pictures to people in need. And it was really great. It was really cool. It was effective. But a few weeks later, I put a video of that on Facebook, and a bunch of other people responded, "Hey, this is neat. If you ever do this again, let us know." And so I had to sit for a whole year and wait to launch the idea. And so Scott Kelby asked me to do a blog post on his blog, and I said, well, can I talk about this idea instead? And so we launched the idea, just a video of me talking on his website in August of 2009. And then in December of 2009, our first worldwide event, we had people in 43 countries respond, and I think we did 42,000 portraits the first year. And last year we did about 65,000, I think. So to date, we've basically shot 100,000 portraits in 2 days. And this third year is really, really exciting because we're going to be showing the portraits for the first time, which is probably news to RC and maybe some people who are listening. But that's an announcement we're about to make. And so I think this year is going to be really special because for the first time, people are going to be able to see the photos and hear the stories, and it's going to have a much larger impact, I think. And it's important for people to know that this has nothing to do with me. I mean, your participation doesn't help me. It doesn't put money in my pocket. This isn't about me, and this isn't about photographers. This is really just about using your gift to give something to somebody who's never had that exposure. And to see somebody see themselves as in a print for the first time in their lives will bring you to your knees. It'll make you weep. It's one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced, and I think RC can echo that sentiment. So.
Oh my God! Wow. That Help Portrait for me was a very very weird event. It was just weird. Like we went out and we shot the first Help Portrait. And I remember driving back and feeling so thankful and so minuscule. You feel so small. You feel so grateful and you feel so small. So what do we do, right? So we got together here in Tampa, Florida, and we said, all right, well, what do we do? All right, well, what do we know how to do? All right, well, we do photography, but there's, tons of photographers. It's one of the things with Help Portrait is just like photographers just be like, dun, 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 I'm going to go save the world with photography. And all these people just like, you're going to take pictures. So all these photographers swarmed, and we're like, all right, well, everybody's a photographer. What are we going to do? I'm like, well, what we know how to do is we can retouch. We know Photoshop. We can do it fast. We can do it quick. So we teamed up with an organization called Operation PAR, and it's down here in Florida. And basically what happens is when moms get busted for drugs, a lot of the times what happens is their kids are taken away from them. And I'm talking to this guy, this doctor, who's like, the head of the organization. And he's just like, have you ever been in love? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, do you remember your first love? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, if your first love walked in right now, would you kind of still be a little bit in love? And I'm like, yeah, kind of, sort of. And he's like, imagine if you love drugs in that same way. He's like, imagine if you have a feeling towards a drug in that same way where it can show up and you'll be like, oh my God, I know that you made me poor, but come here. He's like, all of a sudden, when you take a person like that and you estrange them from everything, there's no hope. And he said, we came up with this program that said, rather than taking the kids away, what we're going to do is we're going to take the kids and we're going to build this giant facility behind the hospital, and we're going to put the kids with the parents, and we're going to teach them through parenting, through, you know, psychology, through, you know, chemistry, whatever. But we're going to teach them how to be able to love their children, so that the love that they have for their children supersedes the love that they have for their drugs. And it was just like, all right, we can do this. So here we show up to this event, and there's all of these people that are there, and these parents that are just users, and they have their kids, and they don't have these portraits with their children. And we wanted to do a video, and then so we were taking these pictures of these people that don't want these pictures taken, and then all of a sudden somebody just showers love onto these people, and you take these pictures and you see this moment of connection. It's like this proof that they love this child and this child loves them. And you deliver these pictures and you walk away, and they're just like, I can't believe that strangers cared. And you get in your car and you go to Chipotle and you pull out your debit card and you're like, what just happened? Like, everything just felt so insignificant. For like a couple of days, you just kind of walked around in shell shock, and you were just like, this is cool. This is a good thing. This is a very, so I'm a big fan of Help Portrait. I'm a big fan of what it does. I'm a big fan of Jeremy because of it. It's good work, and we should all be committed to wanting to help for those reasons, you know, just to be able to show somebody else worth. I think that part's a very, very positive thing.
Yeah, for Jeremy, he is the banner man behind all this stuff, and it's true. He has no desire to be famous because of this, but it's really not for him. But he kind of has to be the banner man in order to make it big and make it more popular. But he's actually not doing it for himself, and so he's in sort of this weird position. I think, you know, pretty much everyone that knows Jeremy knows he's not that kind of a guy. So it has to get big, and it has to get big through a person. And I think Jeremy's the perfect guy for it, and everyone, you know, speaks so highly of it. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's always an awkward thing, but you're right. I mean, ultimately, every great movement has a face. Tom Shoes has Blake's, Apple's had Steve Jobs, and so it's always an awkward thing to be. But you know, if it means more lives are impacted and getting the media behind it, if all those things mean more people are affected, then it's cool. Speaking of which, I wanted to show y'all, it's probably not even my turn, but I just wanted to take a quick minute to show you a few images that have never been seen, and I found out today that they will...
There are no turns, just whenever.
Yeah, I found out today that they're going to premiere for the first time on CNN in a couple weeks. CNN is launching a really cool project, and they're going to feature these photos. So I thought I would give you all a sneak peek of that project really quick.
Cool, please.
Let me see if I can share my screen. Share selected window. Interesting. I've never done this before.
Oops.
And we lost.
Did he drop away?
Yeah.
Oh no, he might not be using. Sometimes it falls away if you're not using Chrome. This is Google's trick to get everyone to use Chrome. I guess that's what happened. He'll rejoin though. I hope. RC, do you have something to share in the meantime, or Victor?
Oh, let's see. What can I share? It's like, what do you follow? And all of a sudden, you get into this entire thing with Help Portrait, and then you're like, hey, you want to see an HDR?
You want to see an HDR by Garage?
It's like, hey, you want to see this? Hey, thank God, Jeremy, you're back.
So I'm not sure what happened. An option that came up and said, pick your window, and I chose the window to share, and then it just went away.
Yeah, we saw a window with a bunch of little thumbnails, and then you disappeared.
Yeah, basically, I went to Rwanda a few months ago, and took portraits of genocide survivors standing with the person that killed their families, standing in the exact spot where they killed them. So it's like me saying, hey, would you mind grabbing a portrait with the dude that murdered your children? And can we go to the spot where you murdered them? Is that okay? You know, I mean, it was about as powerful as a photography project as I'll ever do. And so maybe we'll have to save that for the next hangout until I get that issue resolved.
Oh, okay. Maybe if you use Chrome, I've heard it works better with Chrome. It does sound pretty heavy, though. All right. Well, maybe we should have RC show us something light and fluffy and wonderful to counter the Rwandan genocide.
I know. I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, Rwandan genocide. Hey, let me show you guys two kitties fighting.
We need some LOL cats.
Oh,
here, some cats doing crazy stuff.
Let me show you a picture of why kids shouldn't go to Fremont Street. Here, hold up a second. I'll find some shots. I don't do a lot of street photography. I'm just not very good at it. You know, it's one of those things where it's like I spend a lot of time. I like doing a lot of environmental portraiture, and then I spend a lot of time playing with HDR. And in the middle of all of that stuff, I've been trying to kind of experiment doing street portraiture. And I went out to Fremont Street, and I was just practicing hip firing. And I'm just hip firing a shot. And then there was a guy who was a Cupid, who was dressed as a Cupid, an old man dressed up as a Cupid, with a leather diaper on.
Of course.
And like you do. And he's bending over, and I hip fire this shot. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a stroller showing up. So I drop to one knee, and I fire off 3 frames. And this is one of the frames that shows up.
No good can come from this.
So let's just, I'll go ahead and I'll share my screen here. Yeah, so that's my contribution to kind of liven up the mood.
See, even your accidents are talented.
You want to talk about lol cats? I forgot. You know, I would like to show you guys this one.
Yeah, show us.
If I may. Sorry, I feel I'm so not wanting to step on anybody's turn or anything.
Dude, there's no toes here, man. There's no toes here.
Okay,
there's no pants.
I'm sorry.
I don't invite people to hangouts that are easily offended by anything.
Okay.
So
this
don't worry about it.
little photo, I took this shot and didn't even notice the psycho cat until like 2 or 3 weeks later. Well, flipping through the photos, like, what the heck is that cat doing? It's doing the Charleston behind her. Like, what in the world?
Awesome.
And then actually, this photo is now on the I Has Cheeseburger site somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah. I know I've made it when that happened. Anyway, that's my cat photo. Sorry.
You have arrived. Do you have anything else to show us, RC?
Yeah, let me take a look at. All right. So I'll tell you guys a story. Yes, I'm gonna go over to my 500px account because that's just kind of where I've been putting a lot of my stuff recently. Let's see, share selected window. All right, so my 500px account's pretty straightforward. It's 500px.com/aboutrc. So inside of here, I just kind of throw a lot of my experiments. You know, got a lot of kind of things that I'm just playing with. I'm a New Yorker. I've actually just been moving. I've moved down to Tampa to work for Scott Kelby about 4 or 5 years ago. So I spent a lot of time, you know, kind of going back and forth with New York. This guy was actually pretty cool. This is one of those stories where I usually tell people it never hurts to ask. It never hurts to ask. I'm hanging out in Photoshop world and I'm teaching. And as I'm walking around, there's this guy is kind of showing up and he's walking with this little dainty French girl. And now Photoshop world is a giant convention with a whole bunch of photographers. Yet every single photographer that walked by this guy, he had a white shirt on. Every single photographer walked by would just do a triple take and would just look at him and just walk away. Do a triple take, look at him and walk away. And I saw him walk by and I'm like, you know what? If there's a lesson here, fortune rewards the brave. You know, go out and just, the worst that you can hear is no. That's the worst that's going to happen is no. So I walk up to this guy and I'm like, dude, can I take a picture of you? He's like, cool. All right, yeah, no problem. So I grabbed the guy, and I had done this thing on, I had done this talk at Ellencrom, and to like 2 people, like nobody was there. And this guy shows up with me, and there's like 2 people there, and I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna see what happens. And I put him in front, and I start talking, and then all of a sudden, out of my left shoulder, I hear, hey, do you need a hand? And do you need a valve? So for those of you who don't know what a valve is, it's a voice-actuated light stand. And it's just a gopher. And I turn to the left, and it's Joe McNally. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, you're damn right I need a valve. So, and Joe's a buddy of mine, and I was just like, cool, man, whatever. But then we turned back, and that crowd of 2 turned into like a crowd of like 80. And he's sitting there, and Joe turned around and was just like, take off your shirt. And the guy's like, I do not think that I know you very well. So he didn't say anything. So I turned around, and I'm like, that's a good lesson. Here's this guy who doesn't want to take his shirt off. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever, man, let's work. So I'm talking, and I'm hanging out, and I'm talking, and I'm just doing all these settings, and I'm playing with my camera, getting it ready to be able to do what I want to do. And I fire off 2 shots of him in a white shirt, and I turn around, and the best thing that you can do when you're working with a person is show them where you're going. You know, I'll fire 2 quick shots, and then I'll turn around and go, look, this is where I'm going. The moment that you show them that you know what you're doing and you're taking a good shot, the trust level is going to get a little bit better. When that trust level got better, I turned around and I said, you know what, though? This would be awesome if you took your shirt off. And he turned around, and he's like, I got it. Okay. He took his shirt off. He hit this pose. We fired 3 more shots, and he was out as soon as it happened. So I turned around, and I'm like, all right, that's great. I wanted to make sure that I did right by this guy. And I said, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to look up tattoo, no pain, no gain, because that's what it says on his hands. And I'm going to try to see if I can find him. And rather than take 7 months to retouch the image, I'm going to send him the image. So I find the guy. His name is Lucas Spira. And he's basically, he's a pioneer of something called the body hacktivist movement. So basically what he does is he's world renowned in having people make tattoos on their body, and he carves them out of people. He has hooks installed in his back to be able to take people on suspension rides. He takes people on, he takes these people on these trips to be able to go and take a look at this stuff. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, who'd you do a picture of? Oh, Satan. And
no, these guys are awesome, actually.
But the funny part about it is, if there's not a better example of how intimidating a camera can be for a person, here's a guy who carves tattoos out of people, who's suspended in hooks and takes people on a ride, and a camera can put him in a position where all of a sudden he's like, yeah, you know what, I don't want to do this. I don't. So, you know, it's, and that's, a lot of the times I tell people that's the responsibility as a photographer. You need to understand that there's that kind of power in a camera. You need to understand that that's what you got to overcome. So you guys want to see, if you guys want to see one more, I'll do one more.
Yes.
Yeah, do one more.
All right, here, I'll do one more. I'll share my screen here. This one I like to call a lesson in sucking.
I have a lot of those, if you want.
Or how to take criticism, right? So these are a bunch of different shots that I done. Oh, this is a picture of my mom, the first time that she ever used a computer.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I thought that was kind of cool.
It's a good one.
But that's not it. That's not it. It's this shot. This one right here. So this shot, let's go ahead and see if I can zoom it in a little bit. So that shot is a shot that I had been working. There's a dude who, basically this guy's name, his name is Rob the Hurricane Peacock. And he's a trick pool player. And basically he has this famous shot that he basically hits a ball. He goes all the way to the opposite side of the pool table. It bounces straight up in the air over a set of balls and hits the 8-ball in the corner pocket.
Wow.
And knocks it in.
Awesome.
So he wanted a portrait, and I turned around, and the guy that I actually commissioned to do the portrait called me up, and he was just like, listen, I want to take like 60 shots on a tripod, and I want to put it together in Photoshop. And I'm like, I got to be honest with you, the guys that I hang with aren't going to be all that impressed with 60 shots merged together in Photoshop. Can we do this in one shot, one frame, no Photoshop, no nothing? So this shot is actually, there's no Photoshop involved in it at all. There's 6 speed lights that are shooting stroboscopic.
Wow.
To be able to capture the entire shot. However, he needs to be perfectly in frame. So stroboscopic means that there's going to be 14, 15 pulses that are going to hit things. So when you add light to something like that green table, if you hit it 16 times with a light, how is that not going to get blown out? You know, how are you going to keep that green, or how are you going to keep the lamp at the top green? So literally we had to do a 2-second exposure that had stroboscopic for a second and a half. And then the last half a second, I had a secondary camera running with a snoop with one light hitting the guy straight in the face. So we started off with the light on. We turned the light off as soon as he hit the balls. We strobed it 14 times. As soon as the ball hit the 8-ball, we fired a secondary camera that had a secondary trigger with a snoot. It was like this giant domino game.
Yeah, no kidding. I think, I just want to interrupt for a moment. I think that people would like to see the link to that shot. It's really, even though I get the idea of it, I think that even people watching the Keith Barrett, you know, the whole stream, they'd love to see the actual link.
I'll do this. I'll come over here, and I have a blog post. And what I did is I took all the frames, and here, I'll put it here in the chat. I'll put it over here at Keith Barrett. And
awesome.
So that you guys have it, because what I did is I made a flip book all the way at the bottom. So there's a really bad movie that's done there, and then I just basically showed the entire process from start to finish. It took 6.5 hours to do.
Wow, I just love the lighting in that.
And it was one frame, no Photoshop.
Okay, can I go back to the whole images that suck? Can you help me out here?
Okay, well,
is that
so here's here's my tribute to Gary Fong. You see right here in the corner, that light that's in the corner?
Yes.
That's a Gary Fong dome painted yellow, flipped upside down under the light.
Awesome.
So I talked to McNally about it, and I told him, we were having dinner one day, and I was just like, dude, I'm going to tell you the shot that I'm working on, but you got to sit on your hands. You can't say anything about the shot. And he's like, all right, go ahead. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And he's like, what do you think your problems are going to be? And I said, all right, this is what I think my problems are going to be. So there's one light hitting the window to the right of him. There's one light in the fireplace. There's one light skating across for the balls. There's one light at the front left, one light at the front right, one light towards the back. So I said all of this stuff. 6.5 hours later, I send him a message at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, dude, I got it. Check it out. I send this same message, and I send the picture over to another buddy of mine, David Hobby. He's the guy that started Strobist. So I send it to him, and I'm like, dude, check it out. I got it. And he's like, on the level of complexity, he's like, that's an 11. And he's like, however, this is a technical picture desperately trying to find a home. And hearing that after working 6.5 hours was like getting punched in the stomach.
Yeah.
It was probably the most demotivating thing that you could ever hear after working on something so hard. And that was the point that I had with all of it. Like, I walked out of that and I turned around and I said, you know what? That sucked. However, after you become so emotionally attached to your pictures when you do photography sometimes. And they're your babies, and you spend all this time doing this kind of stuff. And I think that sometimes you need to kind of put them out there to somebody else and have somebody else kind of tell you what it is that they see. Because after thinking about that for a couple of days, I was like, you know what? You're right. The tech was really cool. The execution was really cool. However, it's missing a little bit of soul. It's missing something. And once you get over that hump, you get to a really cool place. You get to a place, you get to inspiration where you're like, you know what? Suck it. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to make this thing. I'm going to have it be awesome. I'm going to have a guy yelling and there's going to be fire in the background. There's going to be all sorts of the next time that I do this, it's going to be great. But it's one of those things where it's like, don't get married to your shot, because sometimes you lose a little sight of what it is that you're actually trying to do.
Yeah, that's a smart way to say it. It's good to make these little mistakes, and then if you realize what the mistake is and kind of give yourself a little bit of a kidney punch, you won't do it again. You won't do it again. I'll share a few of mine, and then Victor, you want to get a few of yours ready next?
Sure.
Okay. Let me go here. I'll share a few unpublished photos, and then I'm also going to share some failures and talk about why I think that they're failures.
You see me getting all ready? Failures, really?
Oh, yeah.
Bring them on.
Of course. Well, I never published failures. But I'll show you some that are failing, and I'll kind of talk why I think they're failing. No, that's not true. I do publish a lot of failures. I don't really recognize it until I see a lot of comments. But anyway, this one, I took this one. This is another shot I took during that little smug mug thing. This isn't my favorite shot of it, but I still like it quite a bit. And I think I had a wide-angle lens on here. And one of the fun things about having a wide-angle lens with rocks that are nearby is you can just get right up on the rocks. And the rocks get all warped with a wide-angle lens, but a warped rock looks like a rock. And you can do really wild things with shapes. And so, and I'm actually not one of these people that loves to analyze photos, because I think when you talk about it too much, it loses the magic. And, I mean, a magic trick is nice, but when you start talking about all the little steps in the magic trick, sometimes it loses it. But I don't know, I think that there's enough nimble-minded people that can keep all the component parts of it in one part of their brain and then maybe appreciate the whole thing on another level. But anyway, having said all this stuff, I like how the rocks are tiny and they get bigger and bigger. And it kind of indicates that there's distance involved. And I think when people look at a photo, they want to get a sense of how far away things are, because, of course, we're just showing them things on an XY Cartesian plane. But your brain desperately wants to know that Z depth. How far away are things? There's an animal part of your brain just wants to know how far it is to things, because you're always mapping out routes, and it's just important to know the Z space of everything. So that's why I just like walking around and composing rocks. It's a little game of math to me. I just kind of walk around until it clicks, and then I set it down, and then I take the photo. And this is a good example of multiple frame HDR, where you don't have to have ghosting. You still want to have still waves. Otherwise, it all does get kind of flattened out. A fully flattened out sea is kind of neat in some ways, but sometimes you just do want to see a breaking surf and this sort of thing. So that's a Big Sur. Here's another one. This is in China. I like this photo. I don't even know why. I don't know what it is. It just seems nice and interesting. And the crop is, I struggle with the crop, because you kind of have people that are cut off, but I kind of like it. It's sort of cinematic, and I don't know. I mean, these guys aren't even really in. The guy in the back is out of focus, but he's like maybe not enough out of focus, but maybe just enough out of focus. But I do like this photo. I just haven't published it yet.
It tells us so many stories. Just looking at that, your brain can go in so many directions.
Right?
It has a narrative.
So
it has a narrative to it that's wonderful. Like I just picture like the person on the left. I don't know what the relationship between these two people is, but the person on the left's going, yeah, dad's like that. Jesus. Gotta love him though.
And
love
I
that photo.
appreciate the guys on the sides too. Actually, it makes it seem like it wasn't so posed or whatnot. It was just something you captured. I totally dig that. But
Yeah.
I'm not,
Well, thanks.
I don't follow the rules.
Okay, here's another one. This is in Tokyo, and this is the Ginza area in the rain. And I'm not I don't have synesthesia like I kind of wish I did. I might have it in mild ways, but I do see like math everywhere. That is my background, is all math and computer science, and I can't help but move my head around and find just lines that seem interesting and nice and wonderful. And then I love all these just things that make mathematical sense in just sort of a beautiful way, not in an obvious way. And then I like the colors to vibrate against each other in such a way where they feel like they make some sort of mathematical sense. And I just like things to flow with motion and stillness, and I like the eye to travel around and not get overwhelmed, but be interested. And so if I feel like I'm doing that when I'm standing there, it's fun to try to capture the final photo too. So anyway, that's that. Here's one I got in France just recently. This is my friend Fabian. He has a house in the south of France, and that's his daughter. Fabian is the guy. He's a graphic designer. He designs my website, a lot of different things for me. We had a nice little afternoon lunch under a tree, French food and wine and cheese and olives and wonderful things that were made. And we sat out there, and they didn't have grass, and it wasn't dirt. It was like it was a field of mint. So everywhere that you walked, it just these mists of mint sprung up in the air. It was unbelievable. Anyway, so he has a really nice relationship with his daughter, and his wife doesn't take pictures, or I mean she does. They take family pictures, but anyway, I just kind of wanted to get something nice for him. And so anybody, if you should have friends that are photographers so they can take pictures of you with your kids. I have friends that are photographers, but I've never had anyone take pictures of me with my kids, and I think that's something that I would like. We have a few here and there that are just kind of taken by my wife and stuff, but there's little soft moments that only a photographer can capture, and I don't know what it is, but anyway, I was happy just to grab this. I think I only took. I mean, frankly, I'm really not this kind of person, but I did just take one photo here, and it just came out nice. And I just knew, so I stopped taking photos. I didn't want to just fire away, because that does get annoying at some point. And I just kind of knew. Okay, so here, let's look at something that I'm struggling with, or what I think is a failure. I'll show you two. So this is one I took of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, and I've never published it because it's just so literal, it's so obvious, and there's nothing there. And the colors are kind of interesting, and there's a little bit of grass on the roof, or the sky is just kind of blue, and there's clouds, and there's multiple levels, and I don't know, it's just all there, and it's just, there's nothing, I don't know, I feel like this is the kind of thing that someone might take and to put into their brochure, and this would be like a nice brochure photo, or
Where is
something
this
that might go in. What's that?
Where is this?
This is Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in London.
Oh wow.
And I have another picture of this. I like it more. I don't know. I just never published it. I just find it all just literal. I don't know. So
Dude, I dig that.
Well, thanks. I don't. There's something about it I'm not liking. And here's another one that's that I wanted to be good and interesting, but I just can't quite like it. enough. This is Balzac. He's a French writer. This is a sculpture by Rodin, a very famous sculpture. It's at a chateau, and I always have trouble taking pictures of art, and usually I don't do it because I don't like taking pictures of art, because it just seems strange. It's like art made out of art, and it's just too many levels of abstraction, and I struggle with it. It seems, I want to do a service to the art, and also I was inspired because there's another very famous photo of this Balzac statue, which maybe you guys know if you're students of photography. It's a very old photo, and it's sort of him leaning back. It's in the fog, and very nice. And I don't know. I don't even know what I was trying to do here. It just came out, and it's not. I mean, it's interesting, but just it falls apart in a way. And so I've never published it, and I probably never will. So anyway, so there's a few things for you. How about you, Victor? Do you want to share something with us?
Sure. I'll share a few things of kind of where I've been and where I'm going. I think that's hopefully you guys can see that. Let me know.
So far, no.
Not, huh? Okay.
We can see your giant professional microphone. Oh, there. Now we see it.
There we go.
There we go. So yeah, kind of where I've been, and this is the kind of shot that I kind of cut my teeth on, and just this is beautiful big stir. I know you were there not too long ago, Trey, and this was just a perfect morning to take this shot. Looks a little dark on the screen, but definitely what I was going for, and it was one of those pictures that I thought, I'm capturing exactly what I'm feeling here, and love that part of it. Let me show you another one that was like that, kind of like a where I've been shot. This is the Grand Tetons, and again, non-HDR in this particular case. I think I did a little bit of post-processing with Define on this one. Again, this I think was shot with a D70 maybe 9 years ago, way before I even knew I was going to have anything having to do with photoblog or anything. But those mountains were so captivating to me that I thought it just looked incredible in black and white, and that's how I originally envisioned it, and there you go. So from there, it's kind of like where I'm going, and again, I was lucky enough to be able to very recently go on a street photography seminar with Erik Kim from Los Angeles, who's just super talented. And I'd never shot anything ever in the street photography genre until that day, and instantly fell in love with it. I don't know if it's, I have the kind of personality that I don't mind getting in somebody's face and saying hello and making myself go out there. And I just found myself really drawn to being on the streets. We were in San Diego, and there were some people that were out there protesting, and it was a great time. And so let me share a couple of things that just came out of this very first time that I thought was just so neat. This is two best friends, and they were on their way to a Halloween party at the Gas Lamp in San Diego. And I just, I talked to the woman on the right is from North Dakota, where my wife is from, and they had been friends for 46 years.
That's awesome.
And I came back, and one of the things that Erik did in this workshop was he would not let us look at any photos until the next day. And we were faithful to it. And so it was like shooting film again. I had no idea. And this was one of the photos that called out to me and said, wow, this is what I'm passionate about. This is so cool. So I was very happy with this. And then I'll just show one more real quick. And that's this guy here, who I thought was just wonderful. I felt like I knew him. So
and a great face.
Yeah, great face, and so I'm really stoked about being able to experiment and stretch some of the technical stuff I've learned from a lot of photographers, but then just bring it a little bit more back home. I was a professional saxophonist like for 20 years. I played nightclubs every night, and that's what I did. And I played jazz improvisation. And
nice.
Yeah. And this to me felt like jazz. And that is a feeling I've never had in photography before, and so I'm going to see where it goes.
Thanks for showing those. Do you use any special? Do you have a favorite black and white post-processing tool that you use?
Yep, these were all done with Nick Silver Effects, and I don't have the new one, but I hear it's very good as well. So that's what these were processed with. By the way, on these, nothing else was done except Silver Effects. Everything else about them, again, because of Erik's teachings. In this case, he didn't want us to, crop or adjust them in any other way other than exposure and Silver Effects.
Yeah, I want to get Erik on a future hangout. I love this, that we can all share our screens and you
Yeah,
guys can
it's
talk
so
through your
cool.
photos. And when I talk through mine, I just want to get through mine quickly so I can hear you guys talk about yours.
Aw.
I'm used
Yeah.
to my old tripe, so I want to hear what other people have to say.
Yeah, Erik is a 23-year-old dynamo, and he is just a incredible teacher and so much fun. I just had a blast. Just made a new friend. That's what it felt like.
Cool. Yeah, I've seen one of his videos. He seems like a real personable, go-getter type guy.
Thanks for letting me share those. That was fun.
Cool. Yeah, you bet. Hey, Dave Veffer, how are you doing? You're sitting silently over there, all bearded and nice.
I'm doing pretty well. I'm enjoying watching all the tips. I just wanted to mention Gordon was talking about the polarizer. Just a quick tip: if you have a DSLR, you should get a circular polarizer, not just a regular polarizer, because your camera won't be able to autofocus or meter properly with a straight-up polarizer.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
And I do have some stuff to show too.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Go ahead. Pop on there.
All right.
Share it up.
So I'll kind of show a before, middle, and after here. So Jaime was talking about shooting stuff at a restaurant. So here's an image I took of my daughter at a restaurant, and she was just looking off to the side, and I happened to just catch this cool shot where I thought her eyes were really expressive, and she also had the eyes on her shirt at the same time. So I decided to go black and white with it, and ended up with
Nice.
this, but I was still bothered by the people in the background and everything, and so I made another version. This one I had for a while, and then I later went back to it and kind of just got rid of everybody and ended up with the final being this shot. And I was pretty happy with it.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, she's my favorite subject. She's the reason I got into actually taking, getting an SLR and everything. I didn't want to let the moments of her life pass by without being able to capture her essence.
You don't have multiple kids, do you?
Totally.
No, just her.
Good, because you don't want to say that she's your favorite if you do.
No, just one and done. So
One and done.
yeah,
Famous last words.
right. And this one is this past year, 4th of July.
Hmm.
It's almost too easy with her. And she just
Yeah. Have you been making any photo books or anything for the family?
I made one last year for my dad's 70th birthday. I took a lot of photos that I had taken over the years of all 3 of his grandkids, all granddaughters, and combined it into a photo book for him. It was all shots of them and shots of them with him and stuff like that. He loved it.
Ah, that's great.
Very cool.
Do you make home movies of your kids too?
Yeah, I do. Not too often. I use once in a while I'll use my Canon, but usually I'll use my point and shoot Lumix camera because it can do 720p and autofocus and everything. I don't really have to think about it.
I just finished making a home movie of my my kids because I had stuff backed up. It takes a while to edit video. It's not quick. And
Right.
What I did is, because I love this, Jaime type Instagram look. There's a plugin that I use for Final Cut Pro called, I think it's called Looks, Quick Looks. It's one of Stu Maschwitz's products. It's amazing. You're able to just take this sort of cross-processing color look and apply it to video. And then your home movies come out looking like incredibly stylized, and very interesting. So that's kind of been something I've been playing with lately.
Cool.
I hope I don't look back in 10 years and think, man, I wish I had cross-process. But I don't think so, because it's very kind of artsy and nice. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. Well, Angela and Anna, you guys have been so quiet up there. Anything you guys want to throw in or share?
Yeah, I have one more picture that I'd like to share.
Please do. I definitely don't want to ignore you guys. You're, of course, welcome to pipe in anytime. I'm
I
sure it's
just
Dave Veffer
enjoy-
that scared you off with that.
No, I was enjoying seeing everybody else's pieces.
Yeah, go ahead and share away. Next time we got to see some of Jeremy's too when he gets his Chrome on.
Well, I can try one more time to share screen after she's done, and if it doesn't work, I'll just in there. But we'll give it one more shot.
All right.
Right on. Oh, this is cool.
You guys see that?
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Yeah, this is Great Falls Park.
Ooh, wow. Whoa.
Oh my
I
God.
was really lucky to catch the sunrise with the fog. Just one morning, I was out at 5 o'clock in the morning to catch this.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Oh, did it go away?
It did.
Hey, Angela, will you share that one you took the other morning where you got up so early? I forgot, in Virginia, I think, somewhere.
Oh, okay. And I think it was West Virginia. Let me
Yeah, I
find
think
it.
I commented on it,
Yeah.
I think.
Let me find it real quick.
By the way, for everyone that's watching, I get too busy, but I do see a ton of different photos out there. Sorry I don't get to comment on all of them, but I do. I'm sure I'm like everyone in this hangout that I feel like I look at about 2,000 pictures per day.
Yeah.
It's so nice and easy, especially with Google Plus, just to scroll by. I think we've all developed a sort of weird skill in that we can look at an image for about 5 seconds and just really completely get it, you know?
Yeah.
But I thought this was a nice one that Angela did.
Mm.
Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Nice.
I was in West Virginia, Dolly Sods. I had to get up about 3 hours before the sunrise to drive all the way over there. But it was definitely worth it.
That's cool.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
What do you do in the car on those long drives to entertain yourself?
I just listen to a lot of books on tape or music.
Me too. I'm an audiobook guy.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah. Cool.
That passes the time away. But
I've
this
only listened to one audiobook series ever.
Which one?
really.
Harry Potter.
Are you 11?
Dude,
Um,
Harry
No, I'm
Potter.
just kidding. I listened to Harry Potter. I was teasing.
The Harry Potter audiobooks were the coolest. They were responsible for me being late to work so many times. Wow, dude, it was so bad. It was so bad.
I won't even let my kids listen to them. They have to read them first, then they get to see the movies.
You know what? Listening to it was like a one-man play.
That's
Like the
awesome.
guy broke Guinness World Records for like most unique voices. Like, dude, it was sick. It's like a one-man play. I stopped watching the movies because I thought that the voices and the people that were in my head were so much better. It's cool.
That's when you know an
Actually,
audiobook has done its job.
I'd love to try that. That sounds interesting.
Dude, it's
You've got my big suggestion for you next, RC, is to get an audiobook called The Name of the Wind.
Ooh, okay. Writing it down.
Please do. I mean, you'll reach, I think you're like already level 6 friend with me. This will get you to level 7. Once you read this book, it'll upgrade anybody by at least 1 degree if they want to listen to this
What
audio
is
book.
The Name of the Wind?
The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and he's on Google Plus.
I was going to say composed by Hans Zimmer.
RC, my only request for you is an HDR shot of you in that wife beater tank top, maybe with Kelby's face photoshopped onto your head or something. It'd be really
Yeah, dude,
awesome.
I'd be like this.
Claro que sí.
Oh yeah, no, dude, it's this is my off time. I'll totally do it. I'll hang it out.
I'm just messing with you. I'm just totally messing with you.
I'll do it on a horse, dude. It'll be epic. That'll be so cool. Oh, dude, if you want to see a cool portrait, have you guys? Here, I'll share with you guys just a quick. I'm gonna put the quick link up here. Have you seen my favorite portrait of Trey?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
hit me.
yeah, we're ready.
And then, what'd you call it? Trey, you've seen this picture.
I don't know which one. this is.
Well, let's hope he has.
Oh,
I think like this, for me, I've always thought this is the coolest representation of Trey. Like
That
art
is.
on one side, technology on another.
Yeah,
Very true.
very true.
I'm like, I thought it was cool. This was when you were in Tampa. You were doing the thing down here.
Yeah.
And you were standing in front of the projector, and I was just like, dude, that is so cool.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so that's my homage to
I
Trey.
never like pictures of myself. But thank you very much.
You're a good man, Trey Ratcliffe.
All right, let's look at something much more pretty. Let's look at something that Jeremy might have taken. You want to try another screen share, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll give it one more shot.
Okay.
It's funny because I was just telling my wife a few minutes ago how embarrassed I am because I've tried now 3 times to do to do Hangouts with Trey, and each time technology has screwed up. And we just had an internet guy come install fast internet today, and it still sucks. So anyway, so I'm going to give this. We're renting a house in LA. We just moved to Los Angeles from Nashville, and our house is in Nashville. So we're having to deal with what our renters have given us, and it's not that great. So anyway,
Jeremy, I'll come to LA and help you anytime, man. You got my support anytime you need it for computer
oh my
stuff.
gosh, we need it. So I'll give this.
Did you move to LA, by the way, because of all the work you're doing in Hollywood with the big guns?
It's just kind of because of everything. I mean, our kids are 5 and 3. They're young enough to where we can move them. I've lived in Nashville since the day I was born, so time for some change. My agent has been in Hollywood for 6 years, so time to come be closer to her. A lot of my clients are in LA, so yeah, all things combined, we needed to come to Los Angeles. So, anyway, here we go. Let's give this a shot. Share selected window.
Yeah.
You've shared our
We're
window.
you so far, man.
And he's gone.
No, wait. He might be coming back.
No, somebody else is coming.
Someone snaked in on Jeremy's spot.
That's so
Hello,
sad.
Andy. How are you?
Poor guy.
Don't worry, Andy. I'm sure you're a wonderful person. Andy, how are you?
Oh no.
No, Andy.
Hi, Trey. Hi, everybody.
Where are you from, Andy?
Scotland.
All right.
Get
Are you a
out.
photographer there?
Yep.
Cool. Well, share a link to your portfolio and stuff, and we can check you out.
Okay.
Well, Anna, you've been quiet as a Ukrainian mouse over there, which I assume is quiet as any other kind of.
I just paid
But they
attention
talk
to you
cuter.
guys. I love listen how other people share their experience, and I really enjoy how you're talking, guys.
Hey, can I tell you a Ukraine story?
Yep.
You won't find this funny, but everyone else will. So I was there, and I got to be friends with a guy, and he was a photographer, and we were doing some other business together. But anyway, it turns out he's like this really hardcore photographer, and he has a studio and this sort of thing, and he has all these Ukrainian models all the time, and they line up, and you pick which ones you want to have, and this sort of thing. And anyway, so he has this big studio, and he takes, Ukrainian photographers can be very strange in that they set up these scenes that are just bizarre. I mean, they're almost like Salvador Dali-esque scenes with none of the charm, and they are just there's always some sort of latex and shoes involved, and there's weird objects, like there's these
Sounds like my
anachronistic, non sequitur type objects just scattered around the studio. And so this one thing that he wanted to do, he goes, Trey, I have this idea. And I said, okay, tell me about it. And he goes, okay. He goes, I have an idea. I want to get a fan, and I want to put a fan on a model so her hair is blown back. He said, but I can't find a fan that's powerful enough. So what I've done is I have found a guy that has an old MiG-21, a Soviet MiG-21. I'm gonna take the jet off that MiG-21, and I'm gonna put it in the studio, and I'm going to use the jet from the MiG-21 to blow back the model's hair so I can get it straight. And I said, okay, that sounds like a great idea, Oleg. Sounds really great. And then so we were on Skype a few months later. He goes, Trey, I got the jet. He goes, it's in my studio. He goes, but there is a problem. I said, what? He goes, it is very loud. I said, it's loud. It's a jet on a MiG-21 in a little studio. He goes, the girls, they don't like it.
Wow.
I bet they don't like it, Oleg. What is wrong with you?
I have a kind of a Ukrainian connection. If I can butt in one more time.
Okay, sure.
Actually, I've been sitting here looking for these photos. Two of my favorite photos. This was my girlfriend at the time, and I'm gonna try to share my screen again. Okay. I literally. Can you guys see that?
I love this picture.
Yeah.
I literally woke up and rolled over to where she was sleeping, and this is what I saw. And I was like, okay, that's freaking precious. And she was asleep. She's very much asleep in that. And I was like, oh, where's my camera? So like, mercifully, my camera was like on the nightstand, like within arm's reach. Not an easy arm's reach, but I could still grab it. How I managed to hold it was just huge, like 24-70 lens. I got the 5D with the battery grip, and I don't know how I managed to take this photo because I couldn't, obviously, I didn't want to get up. If she slightest stir, and she would wake up. But this is, I just kind of set it to burst mode and just, and then luckily one of them, this is one of them. And the other one I wanted to show you is connected. This is about maybe 2 minutes after I took this one, where it was time to get up, and I was going, okay, we gotta go, we gotta get up. And then she was like, no, and I just like yanked the comforter off, and I love that photo because it's such an honest moment. I love her. I love how she's looking at. I think half of that is probably like, I love you. Half of it's I want to kill you. Put the comforter back on me. I don't know. It doesn't get much more real than that. No. I just absolutely love those two photos.
She's gorgeous, and you captured the moment amazingly. Yeah, I can tell you from experience that my 9.5-year-old does not look like that when I pull the covers off of him and tell him to get out of bed. But he kind of acts the same way, but doesn't look anything like that.
Yeah.
Nice shot.
The Ukrainian connection was she's half Ukrainian, half Russian. So beautiful woman.
Born there?
I'm sorry?
Born in either of those spots, or?
Russian. She's born in Russia. She's from, well, I don't want to give too much away.
No, it's okay, but I'm just wondering the nice accent. You got a nice little accent to listen to.
Who, me?
Yeah, nice little accent to listen to when she speaks.
Oh, her. Okay, yes. Okay.
I was born in Russia, and I was growing up in Ukraine. So I just feel like I'm an Ukrainian because more than 29 years I was living in this country. So, yeah.
Interesting.
I just love my country, and I very miss my home. It's why probably, Trey, when I see your picture, it's just remind me about the churches, the beautiful places. So.
Yeah, Ukraine is nice. It's an interesting place because you're obviously a warm, friendly person, and I think people are like that once you finally get them alone. But when you're out in the streets, it's an awfully cold, desolate, frowny kind of place. You know what I mean? But then once you get inside with families or friends, it becomes a much different experience than when you're out on the streets.
Yeah.
Hey, Andy, if you could pick two of us in this group to step into the octagon, who would it be?
The octagon, what's that?
UFC, brutal fighting battles.
To spar.
Killer battles. It's like the kind of fighting that you do that there's really no rules.
Wow, she just like animated up. She's like, wow.
UFC is like awesome.
People,
it's on.
Who wants to go under the octagon with me?
She's like, I turn around and I rip a piece of leather with my mouth, and wrap my hands in glass. I'm like, whoa.
One of the few things I love watching. I'm sorry. Anyway, it's fighting. So pick me, Andy. Pick me. Bring it.
Okay, yourself and RC.
Whoa.
Okay.
Oh, well, it's on.
That'd be a very, very interesting.
Watch out. RC's got all these Latin tricks he'll whip out on you.
I know, dude.
He'll go all lucha libre on you.
Lucha libre. I'll pull out my mask.
He's got 5 masks right there in his desk drawer.
I'd be like Nacho Libre and just
right.
Trey, we all Latinos have 5 masks at least in our drawer. All of us. It's amazing.
Don't forget to wear your stretchy pants.
I will say this, just on a quick aside thing, which I don't necessarily talk about it, is I used to kickbox. I used to do Thai boxing, and I used to kickbox in New York for I think I did it for about 6.5 years. So
Nice.
yeah, so
you trying to say you could take me on?
I'm trying to say that.
Those are some big words. I just want you to think about that for a moment.
I'm just gonna look down and just be like,
just look down and walk on by.
I was just gonna say I'll let you. I'm okay with losing.
There's no letting me. I just win.
Oh.
You know, I'm a mama. I'm a wife. You know, I got it all.
Hey, this is very uncomfortable. Somebody save me here.
Well, I'll save you, RC.
Let's go back and talk to Anna. I'm like, Anna, I can speak Russian, you know.
Oh, yes.
Speak Spanish, too.
All right. Let's see a little Russian.
I can say it's very hot, and I can say it's very cold, and that's probably about the extent of it.
All right. Do one.
Yeah, it's very important word. Yes, especially in Russia. Yes.
Yeah. What was it? What's very cold? It's Сегодня очень холодно.
Yes, it's
and,
right.
Сегодня очень жарко.
Yeah.
He passes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
and
it.
almost without an accent.
Right?
Yeah. The Russian language is not easy at all.
No.
Yeah. Danke.
Hey, all right. Well, I'm going to have Keith shut off the recording, but we'll keep hanging out afterwards. We don't have to stop, but I do have to stop the recording at some point because he has to compress everything, get it uploaded to the channel, and if it's
my wife's
too big,
watching.
it'll break down.
My wife is watching on the Keith Barrett app, and she's going to be like, "Yeah, I'll see you when you get into the room. You want some UFC stuff? Don't worry about it. I got you.
I got your back.
So hard.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for coming. It was great. This is almost like I was able to split my brain into 10 people that I really like and just have this big conversation with myself almost. So thank you. It was great talking to so many different people about different things. It was really,
Thank
really
you.
good.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Sure. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
And scene.